You know, punk has been around for a very long time, and it seems like the artist that designed the very first batch of classic logos made the best logos. The logo designs peaked in the early 80s, and today we're going to go through all of these logos, the designers that designed them, and where they're at right now. Hit the intro. My name's Dan Frampton, and today we're going to be talking about some punk logos. Some of the most iconic pieces of iconography that the eyes can lay eyes on. Now, this isn't going to be a deep dive onto any of these logos or artists. Pretty surface level type video over here, but we're going to take a look at all these logos, find out who designed them, where they're from, if they have any other notable work, and what they're doing today. And one of my favorite logos out there is the Descendents logo. And what we got here is just the Descendents spelt in the way that Descendants spell it, and this kind of cartoon of the singer Milo. From what I can tell, this was a scribble kind of doodled at school by a classmate named Roger Burrill. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. But then the final graphic design that gets reproduced all over the place is done by this guy named Jeff Rat Atkinson, and his hometown was in the South Bay. It doesn't really seem like there's any other notable work, and everything going on with these guys is not public today. So unfortunately, this first guy, we're not going to really get to learn too much about. But there it is, Jeff Rat Atkinson. And another really strong logo from back in the day is the Ramones logo. It's a little bit of an interpretation of the presidential seal, and it was designed by Arturo Vega. Arturo Vega, in some circles, is known as the fifth Ramone. This guy was in charge of all their design, all the aesthetic, sometimes the stage. The Ramones were known for their aesthetic, and I don't know if they'd be the Ramones that we know today if it weren't for Arturo Vega. Now, this dude has a lot of really cool pieces of art out there, and they get exhibited from time to time in New York. But unfortunately, he died in 2013, leaving behind one hell of a legacy. Next on the docket, we got The Exploited. You know the band, but this skull and this kind of spray painted kind of stencil logo over here, this was designed by Pushead. Now, Pushead has designed so many album covers, so many flyers. He really likes to draw these skulls. Oh, this is what Pushead looks like. Here he is wearing his Thrasher hat. He's still going today from the hometown of San Francisco, and this guy just has so many album covers. But most notably, And Justice for All. Here are all his album covers over here. Crazy, huh? And it goes on for pages and pages and pages, but these Metallica ones would be the most famous ones. And Justice for All, he did that. He did the cover of the One single, and then the cover of the Harvester of Sorrow single in 1988, 89, and 88 respectively. 1988 was a hell of a year for our friend Pushead. And if you want to keep up with Pushead, well, you're in luck, folks, because that guy, well, he's still going. He's still drawing skulls and eyeballs and all sorts of ephemera. He's still kicking. His art is very visceral, very graphic, very eye-popping, but it's mostly all skulls. This guy loves himself a skeleton, and you can follow that account over there at Hyper Stoic. Next logo on the chopping block, we're going to be talking about the TSOL logo. I'm not the biggest fan of this logo. It's kind of whatever. It's just a stencil with a crack through it, but it was designed by this guy over here playing the bass named Steve Fowder, but he didn't go by Steve Fowder when he was making art. He was the Human T-shirt, but his nickname when he was a musician was just Human, spelt with two N's. My best guess was that he was from Huntington Beach, California, and he's also done stuff for Dead Kennedys and played bass for the Vandals and Detox. So he stayed pretty active in the scene, but unfortunately, he died in 2022, and the cause of death was not made public. Moving on to probably the most famous one in this entire list over here, we're talking about Black Flag and Raymond Pettibon. Now, apparently, these bars over here are supposed to represent a waving black flag, and I think it's done intelligently. Very genius. I love this. This isn't only one of the best punk logos of all time, this is one of the best logos of all time. This is one of the best graphic representations of identity that I've ever seen in my entire life. This thing is iconic beyond iconic. One of the best things of all time. I absolutely love it. And Raymond Pettibon, apparently, he's the brother of Greg Ginn, who's the guitar player in Black Flag, still going today with all of his little children musicians or whatever. But I'm happy to report that Raymond Pettibon is living in New York, still working, exhibiting, putting out art, just keeping it kicking with his jars of ink and his brushes. Gotta love it. Unfortunately, his only Instagram presence are fan accounts, and he's not running anything onto his own. Now next, we're going to be talking about straight edge legend Al Burrill, who designed the logo for his band SSD. Very simple initial logo, nothing really to write home about, but as meat and potatoes as this band was, this graphically represents that, and I really respect it. He was from Lynn, Massachusetts. He's best known for being a straight edge icon all the way to today, but unfortunately, a lot of people on this list, Al Burrill is no longer with us, dying in 2025 of cancer. Fucking cancer, bro. But as far as art is concerned, I don't think Al Burrill has much else out there. Next up, some of the most iconic artwork in all of punk was designed by Shawn Kerri. I made a full-on video about Shawn Kerri that did pretty good, that I recommend you go watch if you haven't seen it yet. But Shawn Kerri, she did the logo for Circle Jerks and The Germs. Two of the most iconic punk logos came from the same talent, the same brain, the same hand penciled those things. And as of today, unfortunately, Shawn Kerri is no longer working, but fortunately, she is still alive, but she's in a care home. So there's this account called Friends of Shawn that documents all of her art, keeping her art alive, archiving it, making sure it can live on forever and ever and ever. And not only is the dude doing this with this account, on Shawn's birthday, they're gonna go visit Shawn. They bring Shawn art supplies, they bring Shawn gifts from the community, but apparently they can't go in and visit Shawn. They gotta visit her from like behind this chain link fence gimmick. But there she is, there's Shawn, the designer of those logos, sitting down with the bags and bags and bags of goodies sent by the community, reading one of the comic books that presumably has her work archived in it. Super heartwarming stuff over here. Really happy that Shawn Kerri's still kicking. And apparently when they showed up with the latest batch of art supplies, this dude here was wearing the Skank Man tutorial, and Shawn pointed at the shirt and said, "Hey, I drew that." Very heartwarming stuff. One of the best accounts to follow. Friends of Shawn, go check it out. Shawn Kerri, what an absolute legend. Another artist that I made an entire video on is this guy over here, Winston Smith. Winston Smith is such a cool guy, guys. I love the way this guy collages his art pieces together. This guy, if the internet is to be believed, he was born in Oklahoma and then moved to San Francisco and then does all of his collage work out there. He's still going, he's still collaborating, and he's most famous for this Dead Kennedy logo. But right now, he doesn't work with the Dead Kennedys. He works with the former singer of Dead Kennedys, Jello Biafra, who has the record label Alternative Tentacles, and he's still collaborating in that little group of people. The most notable pieces of work that Winston Smith have done have been with Dead Kennedys. He did the cover of Green Day's Insomniac, and he did an album cover for Ben Harper. But just like Pushead, this guy is still going. Operating an Instagram account by the name Winston Smith Art. Still going, still making stuff, still uploading, still communicating his ideas with the public, being an artist. Fuck yeah. Hell yeah, dude. Very fucking cool. I love this picture of him looking at this Fallout magazine or whatever. Awesome. Winston Smith. Another video that I made about an artist, full-on video, is about this guy over here. The guy that did the Sex Pistols logo, Jamie Reed. This guy has so many pieces of art out there that are worth so many dollars. It is crazy how much a Jamie Reed art piece goes for these days out there in like the art curation circles, out there on the auction mills or whatever they're called. And during his time, he made 3 places his home: London, the Isle of Lewis, and then he died in Liverpool in 2023. So he had a pretty good little run, but his cause of death was not disclosed. But let's speak of another British guy, the designer of the Crass logo. Now, I didn't make a video about this dude, but there is a full-on documentary about this logo, about this artist by the name of David King out there on the internet. It's worth a watch completely, but this logo is brilliant. A stroke of brilliance over here. This logo amalgamates all sorts of power symbols into one thing. This has the cross, the Union Jack, the swastika, the Ouroboros, all amalgamated together that basically says the power structures are fucked. This is an amazing logo. So very strong. And David King is one of the most respected and celebrated punk artists to ever live. And he really should be. This is brilliant. But we're going to talk about another brilliant logo next, and that is the Bad Religion logo, which was actually designed by Brett Gurewitz, Mr. Brett himself, the guy who owns and operates Epitaph Records to this day. Now, I really couldn't find any more visual art that he put out, but this one logo, it's great. It's absolutely fantastic, obviously. But in the big 2026, Mr. Brett is more of a record executive and not so much an artist making logos and stuff. Now, a lot like the TSOL logo, the Husker Du logo is just like the band name with a crack through the middle, which is relatively inspired. But then this piece of iconography that's above it is apparently a symbol. I know it looks like it's from Dragon Ball, but apparently it represents all the members of the band coming together to unify to make music together. This logo was designed by their drummer and co-lead vocalist, Grant Hart, who also is an artist in his own right. He still does exhibits, he goes out there and puts things together, he's still out there working, and I believe he's from South St. Paul, Minneapolis. He also designed the cover of Hootenanny by The Replacements. Okay, we're gonna talk about the second Skank Man logo over here. This is for the band DRI, Dirty Rotten Imbeciles. Great band, fun band. Not nearly as talked about or as celebrated today as they should be, I think. But their logo is a lot like the one from Shawn Kerri's Circle Jerks, but this is more of like a street sign version of it, and I love it. I think that this is such a good logo. It was designed by a dude that played drums for them for 2 years by the name of Eric Bretsch. I think he's the brother of another guy in the band. I'm not 100% sure on that though. I'm not brushed up on my DRI history. They are a sick band though. Eric Bretsch apparently played drums for DRI, Hyrix, and Death for a brief period of time. And today he's keeping a low profile. Everything's being kept out of the public. But the next dude I want to talk about, you know him, you love him, all 5'3" of them, Danzig, Glenn Danzig, and 2 of the logos that he designed, the Misfits logo and the Sam Hain logo. Both of these logos were sort of riffs off of other things. There was a movie in 1946 called The Crimson Ghost, and this is the Crimson Ghost over here. Glenn Danzig took a little peek of that film, and I was like, what if I reproduce that face and call it a day? And I gotta say, very strong, absolutely amazing. And when you're thinking about like punk rock and zines and that cut and paste kind of thing about flyers and that kind of stuff, this is really good. This embodies all of that. And then next, he also stole something for the Sam Hain logo. You see this skull down here? Very cool, very menacing, right? Well, Michael Golden, the comic book artist, actually drew that, and it debuted on the cover of Cry Star number 8. Here it is right here in green. That's the Sam Hain logo. Then years later, a comic book series came out called Henry and Glenn Forever and Ever, which I have right here, and the cover of issue 2 spoofs the Michael Golden cover. Isn't that cool? Look at this fucking Sam Hain logo down here. Beautiful. But that's Glenn Danzig. And what's he doing today? Still probably being angry about Henry and Glenn Forever. He's not a fan. All right, we're gonna end with my favorite one, my absolute top tier dude out here, 7 Seconds. This logo was designed by their singer and frontman, Kevin Seconds. Isn't that amazing that the lead singer of 7 Seconds' name is Kevin Seconds? Already amazing, right? Believe he's from Sacramento, and this logo is apparently like a 7 being caught within the sight of a scope or something like that. But then the line in the middle I think is supposed to represent an X for straight edge? Not 100% sure, but Kevin Seconds is still going today. He is an artist of all artists. This guy doesn't do logos anymore though. This guy paints owls, and his owls are beautiful. So you can go over to Kevin Seconds' Instagram account and you can follow all of his owls. Oh, this is awesome. This is more than just owls. That's awesome. Many different owls, mostly with acrylic, multimedia, still out there playing guitar a little bit too. This dude is the best punk artist going today, and I put him above Raymond Pettibon. I prefer the work of Kevin Seconds. Most of these punk logos are about 45 to 50 years old, and even to this day, all the punk bands that come out since then don't have this strong of a logo. I can't even think off the top of my head what would be considered a Green Day logo. That Hart hand grenade thing maybe, but like only a little brief period of their history was that. Blink-182 has that little pill thing, but that isn't their logo every single time. That's just the most memorable one to me. These early logos were designed by real artists contributing real art to the scene, not just some graphic designer sitting in a room somewhere. And I wish Glenn Danzig would do more visual art, man. I really like what he does. I like it when he pulls from comic books and old movies, recontextualizes it. I'm a big fan. But for now, those are all the logos, designers, and where they're at today. Thank you so much for watching this video. Remember to hit like, press subscribe, and go to moshman.bigcartel.com to read my comic books. Okay, goodbye, see you later, and have a good one.